Those faces, they like it. Come on, have some cameras on.
Cameras on.
Nice. There we go. How can we get the gallery view?
I'm going to get that up. Just let it populate a bit first to get that one loaded up.
Happy
Good
Friday,
afternoon.
everybody. Hopefully you can hear us all right.
I think if I click on that one, get a different view up.
Few shout outs to some familiar faces there. Bart, hi. Oscar, hi. Colin Green, been on a few recently.
There you go. Hello. We can see you.
There you go.
We can see you.
Nice. What's this one about?
Wow, we have a slide.
Joking. Comfy new chairs today. Nice. Feel relaxed.
Yeah. Don't go to sleep. There you go. Flipping versus
Blocking
keeping.
the nice plant as well.
Yeah, we've got right, anybody else joining us there? What do you think, Lauren? We've got everybody in? We are... Come on.
What are you trying to do?
Spotlight, where's that? Is that one there? That's that one?
I think so.
Done.
Cool.
There we are. Right, okay.
All right.
Let's get going then, shall we? Right, today we're talking about flipping versus keeping. So buying a house, do it up and sell it, versus buying a house and keeping it as a buy to let, renting the thing out.
Indeed.
Common question. Common choice.
You know what? We always used to say don't flip.
Oh, I used to have I still have got quite a strong opinion on this.
Yeah.
But
I'm more pro keeping it, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are pros and cons to everything, right?
Absolutely. One of our most watched videos on YouTube is the one titled "Flipping a House is Stupid."
Yeah.
So you can
I think the title is
the title was clickbait for sure.
Yeah.
And in the video, I run through a case study of if I keep this house versus if I flip this house. I do say, in it, but it's horses for courses, and I personally do flip some houses. I did one a couple of weeks ago. There are reasons for flipping houses sometimes. Sometimes it's a good exit. Sometimes it's the only exit if it's the wrong house. Sometimes you need to do it to get some cash in the bank. That's also an option sometimes. So yeah, we're going to run through. We've got two properties that we've sort of hand-picked because they fit. One is pretty much half of the other. Usually a house that you're going to flip, not usually, almost always, a house you're going to flip is going to be different to a house you're going to keep. Yeah, they're just going to be.
Yeah.
And what we've got loads and loads and loads of keepers, and we've got quite a few flips. So we picked two.
You have to almost be in a different stamp duty bracket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the same amount of effort to buy it, renovate it, and flip it as it is to buy it, renovate it, and keep it. But if you buy a house that's worth twice, 3 times as much, you make more for the same amount of effort, almost the same amount of effort. So I've chosen two houses that one is half the other, almost. It was hard to find something that is exactly, but just for illustration purposes. So should we dive straight in?
Yeah,
let's get straight into it. I'll share the screen again, and we're going to run through some numbers. Feel free to press the screen capture button if you want. These are for illustration purposes only. They are real life numbers, but I've rounded them up. Of course, there was pounds, shillings, and pence on all of these things. I've rounded them up. Either way, it was no more than £2,000. It was like 1,000 and something on each one of those. I just happened to find some.
We've put these numbers together on the basis that if you were going to do this yourself, so we're not including some fees, our fees, whatever. This is illustrative.
Yeah. So here's a house that we flipped. It was Devon Drive. It was a purchase price of £130,000. We spent £40,000 doing the renovation, and the fees on it were £10,000. Now, when I say fees, it was stamp duty, legal costs, and
resale costs.
There was selling it back on as well. All of those things. Once it was done, it was worth £220,000. Therefore, the profit was £40,000. I think actually, all in all, I told you I've rounded the numbers up. The profit on this was just shy of £43,000. So you can see I rounded it up, but we're not far off, and it just keeps the maths easy. This is what the house looked like. 3-bed house with a garage. It's reasonably large 3-bed
It
house.
scared off a lot of people because it had some cracks inside, remember?
Yeah, this one, it was an interesting one with a few cracks.
They weren't structural.
They weren't structural, no. We had to have a structural survey in. You can get the idea of that rundown kind of house, typical stuff that we'd flip, and we turned it into something like that. So that was there's a wall out there. So in the middle, you'll see that there's an RS chair across the top. We took the wall out, so you've got a living, a dining room, kitchen. Did a half decent job of that. It's a pretty standard contract kitchen. If you look closely at the pictures, it's pretty basic. There's nothing. It was only a £40,000 refurb, so we got it done reasonably cheap.
This was a few years ago now. It's probably you'd be paying more for the house and more for the reno now.
Everything goes up a little
There's
bit.
little touches there, like 2 sinks in the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's just making it a little bit.
Yeah. It's not a real granite worktop. It's a fake granite worktop.
Nice,
There's kind of thing. It all looks nice. It sold. This house actually sold in. It sold in about a week, and then it had to resell again 3 months later. That's something we'll come on to when we talk about the pros and the cons.
You did a good job.
Did a great job. Yeah.
Actually pushing the price on that.
The second time we sold it was the time we got that high value. Only £5 grand.
Well, that's one of the risks of flipping there.
Correct. So there we go. There's the numbers summary. So versus a house that we kept. So this is the keeper, and it's Canclo Road. This one's mine, so I've got the data to hand. Purchase price 65,000. Renovation 15.
Sorry to interrupt. That first one, if I remember rightly, it was almost like a joint venture with the client.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Profit share.
That's profit share.
We did it then. We didn't charge a fee.
Yep.
This one is one of yours, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll come on to it a little bit later on. We're property sources, and on that particular job, we've done it. I do it quite often where we'll find the property. We can find more properties than I've got cash to buy. The company's got cash to buy.
True.
So if we find an opportunity, client pays for it. We'll do the work. We split the profit. That's what that Devon Drive one was. Yeah. So yeah, a keeper. Purchased it for 65, and actually it was a little bit more than that. Renovation 15, it was a little bit more than that. Fees 5, it actually was a little bit less than that. Developed value 105. So the profit, if you were to sell it, so we're trying. But what we're showing here is this turns out to be a keeper, and that's why I put profit in sort of quotation marks. If you were to sell it, would be £20,000. In actual fact, it would be about 21. We worked out the proper numbers and not rounded up or down, but it's exactly half of what the other one was. So we've got some nice comparisons side by side. That's the house again. A little bit, 3-bed, a little bit smaller than the one that we flipped.
Detached.
Yeah.
Different area.
A lot cheaper. Similar condition inside.
Yeah.
Talking about how much effort it is to do the work.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's not a lot of difference, really.
Not a lot of difference.
That other one needed a wall coming out and those cracks sorting out.
Yeah.
They weren't massive jobs.
Yeah. So whether you're doing, talking about the pros and the cons, if you're going to be doing the work, a house that looks in really bad order, decoratively, that Devon Drive, the first one, the one we flipped, looked worse than this one, than the keeper. But actually, if you're going to be replastering walls and repainting and doing it, you're doing the whole job anyway. Really, the renovation doesn't cost that much more. The reason that the renovation was 40,000 versus 15 is it's a bigger house and there was a bigger scope of work. But from your effort point of view, not the money, but from your effort point of view, you visit the same amount of times. You've got to deal with one builder. You've got as many moving parts. Yeah, the kitchen was more expensive. The bathroom was more expensive.
More carried away on a flip as well, and spending more than they need to. Getting that more expensive kitchen that they think they need, and dressing it and all of that. That is the thing, actually. You do have to dress a flip.
Oh yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute. Minutes, sort of the tail end, the back end of the presentation, the pros and the cons. But absolutely, you've got to sell this thing in the end, so it's got to look right. But when doing a flip, I don't know if anybody bought a new build recently. Go look around a new build. They're pretty basic. Contractor kitchens, contractor bathrooms. They don't spend a fortune on them for obvious reasons. I'm putting this house together. When you look at the interior bits, this is the house I live in. Obviously, You don't know that. You know that's what I'm talking about. You can spend as much as the house on the interior bits if you just up-spec it. I mean, the contractors they turn it right way down, and you've got to do the same thing on a flip. You can't go over the top. That's why it's not a real granite worktop in the bathroom. It was a under £200,000 house. So let's look at the numbers then. So bring the numbers up, show you how. God, why can't I do that?
It's the PowerPoint slide, isn't it?
It is that one there. Of course it is, because I haven't moved that one on. The keeper, Canclow Road, took £85,000 in cash to put together. The developed value was 105, like we said, so the profit is £20,000. Now, that took 3 months to rent and 6 months to refinance. So
6 months to 3 months to rent. You mean 3 months to renovate
3 months
and
to
then rent?
3 months to renovate and then it was rented out. So
Yeah.
you got money coming in straight away. And then it took 6 months to refinance. So we're refinancing these properties.
Yeah. 6 months since the day you bought it, not since the day you rented it. A lot of people ask that, But yeah, no, since the day you owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually since the day you registered it with Land Registry.
Yeah, providing the solicitor does it on the right day.
Does it on the right day.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do now is put a timescale to things, because if you're making some money, I put the word profit in inverted commas. So we've done this deal. We're going to keep it. We're going to keep it, but we've always got the option that we could have sold it, and we're going to make, if we'd have sold it, £20,000 in theory. And it's important how quickly you make that, because if you're going to make £20,000 in 2 years, it's not a lot. If you're going to make £20,000 next week, it's the same amount of money, but you've got to divide it in. Now, the interesting thing when you're looking at our keepers, and I know that loads of people have looked at this, I would imagine most people have looked at this, is if you can take £85,000 in cash, which is what you bought the thing for, the whole cost of the building and the renovation, and make £20,000 profit, of course you've got to sell it to make £20,000, so that's why it's in inverted commas, and that is a 23.5% return. Or is it? Or is it? Because you did it in 6 months. Actually, a 47% return on your money. Because you've got to annualise it. If you did that deal like we did, we bought the house, we renovated it, and it's worth £20,000 more than we paid for it. We could sell it for £20,000 more, but we could put that on the market 4 to 6 weeks after we bought the thing. That's how long that renovation took. We always say a renovation can take up to 12 weeks because you've got back-to-back contractors, and you've got to wait. We've got a roster of contractors, and sometimes you've got to wait 2 or 3 or 4 weeks before that building starts. But the actual work itself,
8 weeks.
8 weeks max.
8, 10.
You could get it back on the market before it's even finished and start drumming up some interest. And could you sell it quickly? Yeah, that's one of the questions we're going to be asking later. How long did it take to sell these things? But look, that's a £20,000 profit in 6 months. It's a 47% return on an 85,000 cash in. Other number. So this is the keeper. The key number here is what the thing rents for. So instead of selling it, instead of putting it back on the market, we kept it. So let's just drop the screen a minute so that it's not death by PowerPoint. Explain the buy, rent.
Go on, try it.
Go. Buy, refurbish, rent and refinance model. Explain this. So it's not just if you're keeping it.
You buy it,
yeah.
You refurbish it,
yeah.
You rent it, you refinance it over being flippant. Yeah, obviously. You're buying it at the right price. That's the key thing though. So it's not just, go and buy an £85,000 house. You've got to know that it's going to be worth 105, 110 once you've spent some money renovating it. So know what it's worth, fully renovated before you put your offer in. Pay the right amount for it. Make sure you have priced it correctly. Make sure you have a builder in place before you even think about getting involved with the house at all. Know what it's going to rent for. And then when you come to put a mortgage on it, the mortgage company will look at it and say, yeah, I agree, it's worth that. I can see that it's market rent. Okay, we'll give you a mortgage. and then you get a large chunk of your money back out. Obviously, we're not taking into account the fees we charge here, so you'd employ a little bit more, but if we'd done it for you, you wouldn't have had to do any of the work yourself. So there's that. And that's why people do it, because people do this model because it allows them to grow and keep buying more. That's why I prefer it. So it's the same amount of work, or more or less, without the need to have to sell the thing and then do that work all over again to sell that thing, to do that thing all again. When that money that you're taking back out in the mortgage is tax free as well, right?
Yep. So the due diligence Adam's talking about doing on any house, whether you're going to keep it or flip it, know what it's worth at the end, know what it'll rent for, knowing the product that you're about to produce. That's important for both sides. Obviously, you don't need to know particularly what it's going to rent for if you're going to flip it, but knowing your numbers. For me, there is less risk in a buy-to-let, particularly this one.
You might need to know what it's worth if you're going to flip it, because someone might buy enough, you might want to buy it to rent it.
It would probably not in this case. Well, some people would, because it's a lower end, but arguably, for me, it feels less risky to have a buy-to-let that I'm going to keep versus a flip in that regard, because if I've got my numbers a little bit wrong on a buy-to-let, and it's not quite worth that, or it's not going to quite rent for that, then it will do eventually, and it's only a little bit out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got your numbers wrong on a flip, well, it might mean the difference between you making money or not making money.
Definitely.
The other thing,
we're buying a house right now for a client. We're going to turn it into a HMO, and it was a big house. It's got to be. It's going to be a 5-bed HMO. It is a house that someone tried to renovate to flip.
Right. I know. Yeah. It's all been started.
One of the bathrooms we're keeping. We're going to use it as an ensuite.
Yeah.
They've just made it. Bad job of it.
Yeah, and had to walk away.
Yeah. So they're going to probably break even, maybe lose a little bit.
Yeah. So there's less risk with the keeper, because if you're slightly wrong, it's a smallish percentage of the overall thing. And if you decided this is the house for me, the right house, right street, the rent's right, and my profit per month is going to be right, then so what if you were £5,000 out on the value, or £5,000 more on the renovation? If you're going to keep it, you're going to keep it for the next 10 years. Well, honestly, within the next 2 years, you'll be free of that thought. Probably within the next 6 months, you'll be free of that thought. So
things can happen as well. If you were putting a flip project together just around the time all the mortgage interest rates went a bit crazy, no one's buying that flip off you to live in it. Because the mortgage payment on a 10% deposit, 90% loan is massive. So even at that point, if you've done the keeper version, high interest rates, it would still wash its face, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So my next point around risk is, and this is keeper versus flip, is on the keeper. Obviously, you've done it. You've seen the pictures. It's all nice. The next thing you're going to do is find a buyer. So with a keeper, you've got to find a tenant, and with a flip, you've got to find a buyer. So, which one's easier? Finding. How long does it take us to find a tenant, Alan?
You put the house on the market, you have 15 to 20 people applying within 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
And we'll have a block viewing arranged within a week. You've got a tenant in application. You'll have more than one apply. 20 people apply, 15 of them you don't want, 5 of them you do. 3 of them apply. Yeah. It's about the rest.
About that. Yeah. So the answer is, if you're going to keep it, it's very easy. You exit, you're getting it rented is easy. The other half of your exit on a keeper is probably a refinance. Or we keep saying that, buy, renovate, rent and refinance. Some of our clients keep in cash, but if you want to refinance,
just happy that they've created some equity at the outset.
If you want to refinance it, how easy is that? Again,
relatively easy.
As
long as you haven't got any bad credit, and you've bought the right house in the right area, and it is going to rent for that amount of money, or it's got a tenant in it, it's fine.
And there's always a conversation about how reliable an end valuation, how easily we can predict what it'll revalue for, the value.
I think that's the difference. Yeah, I think the flip will value up higher and sell for more than the mortgage survey goes in surveys quite often.
So the finding the buyer on a flip versus getting a mortgage on a flip, that's your cash exit. So your exit for a seller flip is just sell it. For your exit on a keeper is you've got to rent it and you've got to get a mortgage.
I think on this keeper, if you send your mortgage, you apply for your mortgage, the surveyor goes in and evaluates at 105, take your mortgage, you go again. I think if you sell this keeper, you get 110, 115.
Correct.
Because the agent will drive the price when you get a first time buyer, someone who sees it's newly renovated, wants to live in it.
So you're absolutely right. You get the keeper, you get probably more than the cash we've said, that cash profit of 20 grand. You're absolutely right. Quite often on a buy-to-let these days, the valuation we get is a little bit less than what we, on the refinance, on the mortgage, is a little bit less than what we know we could sell it for. Lenders are just a bit cautious. But the idea of being able to just call in a mortgage surveyor and within 2 to 3 weeks have cash in the bank, and that's how long a refinance takes. That's a lot different to selling a house. So selling a house, I know that this flip took, it sold very quickly, and then that buyer disappeared. That's one of the challenges. And then we got a second buyer at a higher value. Actually, if you remember, so I put down the sale price. The estate agent did a really good job on Devon Drive getting the value up. And the person agreed to pay whatever they agreed to pay. And then as soon as it went through, we went, that'll never go through. Because it got knocked down. So it was all, first time buyers, they loved the house, they wanted it. They said, yeah, we'll pay. I think they'd offered £10,000 more than we actually ended up getting. But when the survey came in, the surveyor said, you've overpaid, it's not worth that. So actually we got knocked back on it. All challenges, they're similar challenges, and you get down valuation on a keeper, but don't think that just because you're selling it. We also, this is also worth noting, the first time we sold it for the amount, we sold it very quickly, and it didn't go through for another reason, but we were also aware that buyer, they couldn't complete immediately anyway because we had to own it for 6 months. Now, that's
same as when you refinance.
Some people just don't get this.
That's true.
When you're flipping a house, if the person buying it is using a mortgage, more often than not, 75% of the cases, the mortgage lender needs you, the vendor, to have owned it for 6 months. Same rules as if you're buying a house to keep and refinance. People, why? That's just crazy. Why? Well, the reason is the mortgage lender has got no idea whether we know the purchaser or not. It could just be a back-to-back, and he's my cousin, and once he's got the high valuation, he's just going to give me the cash back in my back pocket. That's the reason. So, So in terms of risk, there's definitely, for me, it's a more sure thing, a quicker thing on a keeper versus a flip, that I can get a tenant, no problem at all, and I can get refinance within 2 to 3 weeks. I can have the money in the bank. At the absolute outside, it'll be 4, 5, 6 weeks. Whereas selling the thing, it could be on the market for 2 weeks or 2 years, couldn't it? And even if it's only on the market for 2 weeks, getting it through conveyancing is definitely going to take, at the moment, 2 to 3 months. For a home purchase. I mean, we would buy things for a home purchase.
Because the person buying it might be in a chain themselves. They might have something to sell.
Absolutely, and then could fall through. So the keeper. Let's bring the slide back. So just let's run through these numbers. This is the keeper. All the costs in. So I've squished all those up. You're at £85,000. I've just summarised them, and the developed value is the £105,000. I've taken away now this idea of the profit. We're not going to have the profit. That is equity. You're that much richer. That is on your balance sheet. You've thrown it behind you, but we're going to refinance the thing. So we're going to assume that you're going to get a loan of 75% loan to value. So 75% of 105,000 is 78,750. So you've got £78,750 mortgage, which you're absolutely fine to be taken on now because you rented the thing out, haven't you? And you rented it out for £600 a month, and that's roughly what Canclo rented for at that time. Right now, it rents for £850. And we were just looking the other day at putting that up again. I can't because I've got 3 months to go. But if you take out that loan at that rate, your mortgage will be about £260. And my mortgage right now is more like 147, I want to say, something like that, 147 pounds a month, because when I did it, but I put it in at 4%. You'll get a mortgage at 3.8, 4.2, somewhere around there now. So take the middle, 4%.
Is that right?
But no,
Crikey.
yeah, it's coming down.
That's good.
So yeah, £260 per month. Your rent's £260 a month is the mortgage, £600 is the rent. You've got a gross profit of £340. You've got to now say there's loads of fees in there, haven't you? You've got to say, that's your gross, your net. Your net's going to be over 250 quid, which is what it needs to be. But you've got to pay an agent to manage the thing. You've got to get insurance. There's other things you've got going on in there. So it's not a £340 in your pocket.
Unless you do it yourself.
Unless you do it all for yourself. And your capital employed. Now here's the interesting thing. Capital employed is 6,250. So do you want to just explain how we get to the 6,250? Because
it's the difference between all your cost in and the mortgage loan that the bank gave you. Obviously, if we'd done that for you, that would include the fee that we charged. So you'd be a bit more. That's the beauty of it. I mean, a lot of people aim for capital employed zero, don't they? They think they can get all their mony back out. It's rare.
Really, really rare. You'd have to have it. I mean, if you're looking for those deals, you'll do a deal a decade. If you're looking for, and if you think you're going to do it, it won't happen. And and the times when you think, there's no chance it's going to happen, it happens. So you don't aim for it. Adam would always say, with our deals, typical deal, 15 grand left in, yeah.
So 12 to 15, once you've taken into account our fee.
Our fee. So I know this is a realistic deal. This is my deal. Obviously, I didn't pay the fees. I didn't pay you. There's a reason.
Why would you do that?
So I think you can see how that works. I'm going to take that down. Let's talk a bit about once the thing's rented and the money's coming in, your capital employed. How does that feel for the landlord? You've got some. Can you tell me about that bit?
Say that again. How does
you talk to me about why the landlord is aiming to do that? When a landlord comes to you, what's their goal?
Basically, a lot of the time they've got 85 to 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever their budget is, and they don't want it in the bank. Mm-hmm. They would rather employ 15k, have that tied up in a deal, rather and look at the return they're getting, a house going up in value, profit each month, most of their money back out, do another one. Mm-hmm. It's much more efficient than having it in an ISA or in just in a savings account or trying to do the stock market or something. It's safe and steady. And for the long term, I'll use my cash point analogy at this point. We're too early. Come to that in a bit. Next, for the long term, you're getting capital growth as well. People forget about that.
Yeah. So the thing that you've got a decision about now. And I'm not saying flipping is bad. I am saying keeping is good. But there are times when flipping it is perhaps.
Do you know what? Choice. I've got a client who we're doing a flip for, and he's flipping for fun. Seriously, he's built a portfolio up doing this. Mm-hmm. He's got loads of keepers. Yep. He's looked at it and gone, I'm satisfied with that. Yeah. I don't need any more. I don't need the income. I've got other interests. Just want to make 20 grand a flip because I can, just something to keep me busy. Well, that's a nice position to be in. Yeah, great. Flipping for fun.
I always like to have a Saturday job. I always have a Saturday job because there's something to do on a Saturday. There was a book I once read about a guy. He's a really rich guy, and he said he's actually got a chain of hundreds of petrol stations, and that's his Saturday job. Yeah, I quite like that. And yeah, I always like a Saturday job, and I like to get
he goes in the kids
on Saturday.
He works in the shop.
No, his chauffeur picks him up every Saturday.
He goes and looks at him,
and he goes and looks at his things. It's like that's his Saturday job. And I was thinking the other day that it's time that the kids start getting to work, and I'm going to flip some houses for fun, and Arthur's going to start doing it. It's a bit of fun,
we've already got him as milk monitor in the office.
No, hang on a minute. What is he?
Assistant office manager.
He's the assistant office manager. He's 12. Yeah. He buys the milk and reconciles the petty cash. Let's bring this back up, and there's another point I'm trying to make. It's when you should flip, or keep. There's two massive differences between keeping and flipping. On the screen there is the keeper, and the thing that stands out on there is the gross profit per month, which is what you're aiming for. It's whether you know it or not. Most people that come to us would say something like, "I'm building a legacy. I want to, I'm working hard at work or the business I own. I can't do that forever. I want to lay down the money seeds." And all honesty, 340 to £250 in your back pocket probably doesn't seem that exciting, does it?
No.
You know that in the back of your mind you could make £20,000 on this.
Yeah.
Or you could double the money and make £40,000 on the flip. So you've got the choice. Mm-hmm. You are either laying down the money seeds.
The rent now is £200 more. Yeah. So that's only going to go up.
Yeah. You're laying down the money seeds. The £20,000 potential profit, which has disappeared off this screen, is now in your bank account. And come 55, 60, whatever it is, if you were to sell that house, that comes back into your life. Mm-hmm. So that, never forget that. You flipped it into a mortgage. That equity is over your shoulder on your balance sheet. You haven't got access to it, but you haven't lost it. But then the what would it be? The temptation with the word to get that instant cash is sometimes. That's the reason you want to do a flip. Of course. That flip I did the other day, I looked at the check and I thought, that's on there a new car. And it was quite easy to do. So why not? Maybe sometimes, but it's not a keeper. Main thing there is it's a job.
Yeah.
So if you say, I am going to I want to lay down these money seeds so I can retire early, etc., just be really, really aware that when you're buying houses, flipping them, you're working. You've got to find them, you've got to renovate them, you've got to put them on the market. It's another form of the rat race. It's a wheel, and it can be quite hard work. It can be quite grueling, and particularly, is the word stressful?
Can be.
If uncertainty is stressful, then did you buy it for the right price? Is the builder going to do the right quality of the renovation? Are you going to find a buyer? Is this buyer going to go through? Are you going to get the right price? It can actually be
quite holding cost after the renovation, not just for the period of doing the work, but you just don't know how long it's going to take to sell it.
Now, the next thing I wonder, the reason I've got this slide up, so I apologise, I've left it there a little bit too long, is this is the thing that can stop you. So this property here, what you see where the laser pointer is, has tied up £6,250 of your money. And that's important because it is the thing that can stop you just keeping buying. In order to do two of these, you're going to need £12,000. In order to keep going and keep going and keep going, you need that money to put in. So just to be clear, that is your money that you left behind on refinance. You didn't get all your money back out. So why do flips? Sometimes you just got to. You run out of money. You run out of cash. So keeping properties is going to tie up capital. So if you've got a business that's making that much money every month, every 6 months, whatever it is, keep putting it into properties, and that's your in, if you like. Mm-hmm. Once you get to somewhere around anywhere between 4, 5, and 6 properties, you're going to be able to keep one capital pot sustained, because that's £6,000. As long as you keep the rents in, the profits in, is going to top up your pot by about £6,000 every 6 months. So you will be able to do a deal every 6 months if you got about 4 to 6 properties, mm-hmm. and you keep your rental profits in. That capital employed will just keep flashing through. You can get to use your cash machine analogy in a second. So, am I still sharing? Lauren, am I still sharing that one? Right, okay, here we go. So here it is for me, the main reason for keeping. And it's capital growth.
Yeah.
Now, we're just talking about normal capital growth here. Capital growth, I put 8% question mark. Sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 11, whatever that capital growth is. And on Canclo Road now, 105 was the developed value. It's now worth, I think that's worth 175, something like that. I think it's 175. When we buy that right house in the right area at the right price in an area that's regenerating on a street that the house needs regenerating, the street's in an area that's regenerating in not London. So not London's very flat at the moment. Capital growth, and you can argue all day long about that. Of course, there'll be little pockets, but when you're looking at the East Midlands Engine Room or the Northern Powerhouse, there's areas there where they were on their knees 10 years ago, and now millions and millions of levelling up funds have gone. So everything's coming up. We've never bought a house for £50,000 that hasn't doubled in value in 5 years. So we're getting this pop of capital growth, but I'm just talking about normal capital growth there. And if that 105 goes up by 8,400, so by 8%, that's £8,400 per annum, which is £700 per month. Now,
pretty good. Pretty damn good.
We're talking about a house.
It's amazing how many people say, I'm not bothered about capital growth.
Not bothered about capital growth, yeah. So this is a house that rents at this time for £600 a month. Yeah. So you're getting more money in capital growth than you are in rent. I got a lot more because that house isn't worth 105 grand anymore. So if you add that bit in as well, it's massive. What was the cash machine analogy? What was it? What
We've used it before.
What would you pay?
If
you've forgotten it. You've forgotten the cash machine.
If you had a cash point attached to that house, and you could go out and draw out your capital growth whenever you wanted to, so you could go and take out £700 a month on top of your rent, you'd do that all day long. How much would you pay for the house, right? Yeah. But the beauty is you can, because you can refinance it again in 2 years or 5 years and 10 years, and you can keep taking the capital growth out through mortgages until the point where, which is what a lot of the London landlords have done now, they go, oh, took it out so many times now, I need to sell it. Then you sell it, and you've used that money to keep reinvesting, and that's why you keep them.
You've got to take some good advice from your accountant at that point on capital gains tax versus...
Yeah, true.
You can get yourself twisted up in a bit of an issue, which is all untwistable. But if anybody's listening going, hang on, that wouldn't work, because then there's ways that professional landlords know to fix that and get in touch. Now it's good, midpoint, we've switched it up this week. I think it's the right thing to do.
We also forgot to tell people to put questions in the chat.
Oh, did we?
Pump the chat full of questions. If you've got anything you want us to answer, we will look at it. We'll answer any question you write in there. We'll answer it. So please put them in.
We moved the front slice to the middle.
Yeah.
So we went straight in today, and I think that's the right thing to do. But a little bit about us, about forthelandlords.com. You're watching a webinar brought to you by forthelandlords.com. We're a letting agent. We've been a letting agent for 15 years now. I need to change that. Famous for two things. We always say we're a letting agent because, if you meet us, we don't do any advertising, normal, what would you call it, traditional advertising. Yeah. You won't find us on the back of a bus. You won't find us, ringing you up trying to get you a market appraisal. But we would love to have your lettings business. We manage nearly 1,000 properties. We're based in the Midlands, but we've got branches and hubs in, go on, let me name them, Hull,
Stoke, Hull, all of Yorkshire pretty much, Lancashire,
Northampton,
Tees Valley, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Sunderland, most of the Midlands and the north of England, really.
There you go. We're famous for two things. We're famous for the one-page landlord business plan, which little screenshot of it there. Really simply put, most landlords haven't got a plan. Not a fully resolved one, and in any walk of life, in any business, those people with a plan tend to do better. Yep. We've got a plan for you. We know exactly what it is that you should be thinking about, considering, planning, managing, and we can help you put it into place. Help you put that together. So the plan meets you exactly where you're at and asks you where you want to be and tells you exactly the steps you need to take to get there. We'll run through that plan as many times as it takes. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a running track. It's a circle because it has to balance, but we've got a way of describing growth in there too. And it becomes a running track. It becomes an agenda, the 6 points that we'd always talk to you about, and we can deep dive into any single one of those.
I think we'll just make a video about this plan and then you can point people to it.
I'm sure we've done one already.
Let's do a better one.
Okay. Second thing, we're the UK's #1 property sourcer. So that house, Canclo Road or Devon Drive, we sourced them. We found it, we did the renovation, and we organised the sale or the rental of it. Like Adam says, Devon Drive was a JV, and Canclo is actually mine because I can pull that one off on the server. But we've got people in all those areas that Adam mentioned, and we can source a property for you in those areas, whether it's a flip or a keeper. That's enough about us. Book a one-to-one. You put a one-to-one link in the. You're right, Mabs. Dog just walked in. You're going to put a link into the chat about booking a one-to-one with Adam. Okay, so we're just talking now about this. So I've gone back to the flip. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. £180,000 in cash. I think that's a bigger risk. You're always risking more, so it's a bigger property.
And don't try and use bridging or something on a flip. Times people have said, "I'm just going to use bridging loan to help me." Get through it.
I've seen 3 people be repossessed because it didn't sell enough.
It didn't sell quick enough or whatever. If you imagine that, use your own cash. Don't try and borrow on a flip project.
Yeah, that's sound advice. That people call me scaredy cat for doing that.
No. And this is really important because a lot of people have met over the years have gone, right, I just want to do a few flips so I can build my capital pot to then buy some keepers. And then after, so how are you going to buy a flip? You haven't got enough to buy a keeper. You need more. You need way more. You need to be buying a house that's going to go near or into the next stamp duty bracket, and you don't want to use finance to do it.
But you can use bridging to buy a keeper.
If you know you're going to keep.
And I think that's indicative of the fact that it's a more reliable exit on a one you're going to keep. Well, getting a refinance and a rent is a lot more reliable than.
It takes a month and it's there, and you know you're going to get a mortgage.
Yeah. And when I said you could be £5,000 out here or there, that's not the end of the world. Whereas not selling the thing for a year can be the end of the world in this situation. Nobody died, I know that, but you might lose the property, repossession, and all those kind of things. Never looks good. Now the other thing on this is it took longer. This took 12 months.
Yeah.
So could have taken even longer, but 12 months. I've seen them happen taking longer or happening quicker. But 12 months it's a reasonable amount of time. It's an indeterminate time frame. And the other thing is, come on, cheeky, come here, Mouse. Sit. Good girl. The next thing there is tax. So you manage to sell it. This is a big thing for me. There's 2 big points coming up next. So in the flip,
take that down.
That profit is taxable. I've got one more slide. Taxable. Whereas on the other property, on the other property that you're keeping, the tax position is very different. Think about it like this: if you can make money make a profit on your balance sheet, send it straight to your balance sheet without it going through P&L. So think about the Canclo drive on the keeper. You know already that what you've spent on the property versus what the thing's worth, forget about capital growth or any of the profit coming in. We set it down at £20,000 in this example. I can tell you now I did better than that, and it went up quickly over the first year. But £20,000. If you make £20,000, what tax do you normally pay? £4,000, £8,000, depending on your rate, depending whether you're in a limited company, all those things. But right now, all you did was send it to your balance sheet. The £20,000 is still there on your balance sheet. You are personally £20,000 richer. What tax did you pay? 0. Where else do you get to make money on your balance sheet without taking it in, taking it out? So paying £40,000, so paying tax on the £40,000 flip project is significant. It's
big time.
And the next thing, get back up.
Yeah.
And this is my biggest thing.
If flipping is your strategy,
if flipping is your strategy, the next thing is, so you've gone through, you found it, you've gone through all that. That's something else I've not mentioned. I suppose it either comes at the beginning or the end. I'll mention it at the end because it's a circle, isn't it? It's a circle. You found it. You've gone through the headache of putting together a renovation, which has got to be absolutely bang on point. Because it's got to be sold. I said it's got to be a reasonably basic spec, so you don't spend too much money, but the finish has got to be nice. You've got to get it done quickly. You've then got to put it on the market, hope you get the right price, hope it sells quick enough. You've then got to pay your tax. It can be quite a nerve-wracking experience.
So many
variables. Loads and loads of variables. That's the right word. And variables are the thing that are nerve-wracking. Then what do you have to do? You have to do Devon Drive number 2. You have to do the whole thing again. This is a job. You've got to keep doing it and keep doing it. And I'll tell you now, it is, if people come to us and we have conversations with landlords who say, I've got a business, I make cardboard boxes or whatever it is, and I can't do that forever. It makes good money, but I want to work my way out of that with a property portfolio that makes passive income. I'm not bothered about capital growth. You soon put them right on that. But I want this passive income. Well, this isn't a passive income. This is work. Just make no bones about it. It can be quite stressful, and you've got to keep repeating it. And when we flippantly say, "Oh, find the next job," not that easy to find a flip. You'll find it really isn't. So you can place an order for a flip or a buy to let. We've got 2 flip orders at the moment. You can't fill them. It's really, really hard to fulfill a flip order. For fulfilling a keeper, a buy to let, 2 weeks less. Yeah, you can find them.
I got the guys to agree yesterday that I can promise clients that they'll have deals put in front of them within 10 days and put an order in. They all said yes. They were all on the call. They all said yes. And then I quickly clarified with them, don't worry. If it's something a bit different, quirky, a flip, a big a flat conversion HMO, it'll be a bit longer. But a normal keeper, I might start calling the keepers a cash point.
Cash point.
By cash point.
By cash point. Anything I've missed? Anything we've missed? Anything in the questions? Anybody got any burning questions?
I think we'll probably find what we've missed in the chat.
I've got to find the chat though.
It's on the right-hand screen at the bottom. And
thanks. So I've got my glasses on. I've been told to take the glasses off because we've got extra lights in the studio today, and they glare, which then means I can't really see.
See what we've been doing wrong.
Is there any way that I can make all this bigger? There we go.
You've done it.
Hello.
Right. Is that the top? Yeah. Right. Okay. What is different to sell or refinance after refurbishment? Which is smarter, better? I don't know. I think we've given our opinion on that already. I wouldn't use the word smarter or better because I think that's opinion, or it's not for me to say what's smarter or better.
Oh, I like this next.
I think I prefer to refinance and keep it. And I think we've covered that. Hopefully, I think we have. Tell me if we haven't. If you want me to expand on something or Jess to expand on something. Go on. What is it like?
I feel as though these mystery £50,000 houses can never be seen anymore. Is this the case?
No.
The market seems very special.
I've got one in conveyancing for a client. Yeah. We sale agreed it 10 days ago.
Yeah, none of them are at auction, by the way. Absolutely none of them. All the houses at auction are more expensive. You might see a £50,000 house at auction at how £50,000 house at auction.
Well, you'll see all sorts of low prices.
It'll go for 70.
I'll be honest with you though, the £50,000 houses will become a thing of the past
absolutely
very soon. But no, if that's something you want, book a call. Follow that link above or below, and I'll tell you how we can find you one because I can.
Yeah. So specifically £50,000, but if you said 50 to 70, they're all over the place. Yeah. So that £50,000 house is becoming increasingly rare. They still exist, but 55, 60, 70, loads and loads. The idea that the market is sparse or they're hard to find, that's not an uncommon feeling. I think that's the right feeling. They're very hard to find.
They are.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got property sources out there all over the country, and nobody ever says this is easy.
It's never been easy.
Never, ever been easy to find the right house at the right price.
My guys can walk into an estate agent with 3 or 4 different proof of funds that clients have placed orders with and say, put them down on the table. They'd be redacted. They wouldn't have the client's name on and address and stuff. They'd just show the amount there.
Definitely.
The estate agent's suddenly looking at 400k.
Yeah.
Who's he going to ring next week when 2 houses, if they've done 2 market appraisals and they know they're going to get some houses on the market, they're ringing my guys. They know they're going to get a quick sale. They know they've got cash buyers.
Somebody who is investing for the first time, almost never ever going to get those properties. Almost never. our sourcers will get the first phone call. You'd be
Dean's
hard
having
pressed to
a
walk in and
drink,
get it.
like lunch, with one of his estate agents.
Yeah.
It's his mate now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Today.
you've got to.
Yeah.
And why would that estate agent, when they've got everybody wants to buy a property, absolutely everybody. There's no problem at all with that estate agent getting rid of it. What is a problem is the new putting it with the wrong person who doesn't complete. That makes them look like a right idiot.
Yeah.
If you've got an absolute bargain of a property that should fly off the shelf, and the estate agent puts it with newbie guy who then doesn't complete and gets a home builder survey, gets scared, so, all these things, thinks, oh, I've overvalued it, or the builder comes in with a stupid quote and they pull out, whatever it is, then they look like a right idiot because it's a definite deal. And we want to be clients who quite often, really get excited about it, and then 2 weeks later get cold feet because there's not absolute certainty somewhere. Never absolute certainty.
No, of course not.
So you will be hard pressed, and that's why you'd be struggling to find the houses, all feeling like they're not existing. There's another question on there. Can't read it.
I know.
Why is that one smaller than all the
Way
others?
smaller. What do you charge for sourcing? Is that say What? Read it, Lauren. Sorry. Sorry, can you read it, please?
We charge for sourcing for a BRR2 HMO.
Ah, okay.
i.e. a
Got
3-bedroom
you. So what do we charge to source a property and convert it to an HMO? We would probably find a 3 or 4 bed house, convert it to a 5 or a 6 bed HMO, and for sourcing it and managing the renovation, we'd charge you anywhere from £10,000 to £12,000 as a fee for doing that work. And we'd do everything for you. We would find the house, plan the renovation, cost it, manage the builder throughout the renovation, keep you updated every week throughout of it, dress it, furnish it, find all the tenants, fill it, and then manage it. Book a call me, I'll tell you how it works.
That's important that we manage it. We've not mentioned that. In case it's not obvious, if we're sourcing properties and we're a letting agent, it means that when we source a property, we rent the thing out. Which
that's good, because you know that we're going to be finding something that we want to. We don't want problems. Like my guys in the office, they don't want problems. They want problem tenants. They want empty houses. They're not going to make any commission if their houses are all empty.
Exactly. So the idea that we are property sourcers and we just find your house and leave you to it. The house that gets sourced gets renovated by us, by our builders. We put you into get it all organised, project manager, and contract manager as well. And then at the end, the last 2 weeks of the renovation, we start to put it on the market. We'll get the thing rented out, and that means that you're not left. Traditional sourcing route is you own the house, and maybe the sourcer has given you the name of a builder to call and the name of a local letting agent. The builder comes round and 15 grand for this reno? No way, mate. This will be 30 grand. And then turns out that they don't turn up and all those things. So you're left with holding the baby. You've got to deal with it all. And then the same thing, what, you said you can get a £700 rent? Nah, £600, and this area is rife with drugs and we're not going to do it, etc. So we will only buy a house that we would like to own ourselves and we're happy to manage. So we've got some long-term responsibility as well. So like Adam says, book a link and chat. We're doing all right time-wise?
Yeah, we're on time. We've not even run over. We might
Fantastic.
finish early.
If you've got any final questions, start getting them in. And I've got a request, please. If you found this webinar useful, please give us a Google review.
Even if you're just saying that you like the new chairs.
Yeah. New chairs.
Comfy.
Yeah. I'm not allowed these. These are, does it look different? We're in HD today. We upskilled it, went in HD, and then as soon as we went in HD, we realised that the old chairs are absolutely. So I nicked these from the lounge, and my wife isn't happy. I think we have to give them back.
No, never mind.
Yeah,
You have to buy some.
well, yeah, I have to get some more. Yeah, we're gradually getting the studio a little bit more together. A few more lights and bits and bobs, but gradually getting it the way we want it to be. But yeah, if you enjoyed the webinar, if it gave you some useful ideas, thought-provoking, whatever, make a comment, scan the QR code, it'll take you to our page. We'd really appreciate it. It helps all of the, what's it help? The algorithms.
Stuff like that.
Google, they're ruling our life. We want more, whatever's with them. And any of the final questions? How do we get rid of
Even if you, on the review, just tell us some ideas of other calls like this, subjects that you'd like us to talk about. That's cool.
Any other questions, Lauren? What we got?
Nothing else.
Google done.
All right.
James, lovely job. Right here.
Hopefully meet some of you again soon.
Cheers. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah, have a nice weekend as well.
And see you soon.
See you later, guys.
Bye bye.